in case anyone has any concerns about that, so we can play it on YouTube later. And welcome all of you to our first community partner panel. We're very excited for you to be able to hear from 3 of our community partners today. And I know they've been looking forward to meeting with meeting with you, answering questions, and helping us to learn more about their organizations, how the Junior League can help them, and issues that they're addressing and seeing related to food scarcity. I'm Kimber Strawbridge. I'm a board member at large, and we have a few distinguished guests here with us. So I would like to say hello to Chad Cochran from Aaron Bean's office, from Courtney Wesley from Representative Lawson's office. We have Representative Tracy Davis here with us, and also Wyman Representative Dugan, who'll be joining us, and he's on now, it looks like. So thank you to our guests for joining in with the panel. I wanted to open up first and just see if there's anything that you guys would like to let us know. Ms. Wesley, you're highlighted already. If there's anything you'd like to say to us before we begin the panel.
Oh, no, just happy to be here, and Congressman sends his greetings.
Thank you so much. Okay. Mr. Dugan, Representative Dugan.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so first we're going to start with just some introductions. We have Mallory Schott from White Harvest Farms, and Mallory's going to talk to us a little bit about White Harvest Farms and the work that they're doing.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Kimber and Junior League, for having me here today. I am excited to share with you what we have going on at White Harvest Farms. We're a 10-acre urban farm located in a food desert community. Our farm is owned by the Clara White Mission, which is a nonprofit that's been operating in Jacksonville since 1904, so we are over a century old. And our farm site is actually the site of the mission's founder. So for a period of time, the mission's founder, Eartha White, lived on our farm, and her house actually still sits on the farm. So there's a lot of rich history on the farm for the community that we operate in. So we are, we're doing a few things. Overall, we are educating. We're doing education, volunteerism. We have a farmer's market on the farm, and the farm is funded through a USDA NRCS grant. So we operate on a daily basis by doing some, we're doing a research study that's studying the use of biological amendments and compost in order to increase yield. So we are studying regenerative agriculture essentially. So we're not using any harmful pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, and we're studying this regenerative farming model and making a case for it essentially, tracking it versus a more of a conventional model, and studying yield. So that's sort of what operates us day to day and allows us to offer educational classes. So on a monthly basis, we offer classes in gardening, composting, as well as herbal tea and like edible, just edible weeds so that people can have an idea of what they can eat that's sort of already native and growing in Florida. That's what we're offering right now. And then we have our farmers market. So we have a seasonal farmers market, which is on the farm. So this is how, at the moment, we're increasing food access for the low income access area that we have. And this is on Saturdays on the farm, and we're just selling the seasonal products that we grow. At this market, we accept EBT and WIC vouchers, as well as, regular forms of money. And we are enrolled in the Florida Fresh Access Bucks program. If y'all are familiar with that, that is an awesome program which doubles any EBT money spent on a Florida grown fruit or vegetable is doubled. So essentially everything that people buy at our farm, they get for 50% off. And then the Florida Fresh Access Bucks program reimburses us for that other half. And that has been really helpful to just increase involvement in the market with people in the community. Let's see. Well, something that's very exciting about our farm is that we are in a state of expansion. So our organization received a grant from the city of Jacksonville to build a farmer's market on the farm. This will be like a 6,000 square foot, a rather large space that's going to be used for different things. It'll be used for a market that will operate about 5 days a week. It will be used as a commercial kitchen. It has a commercial kitchen in it, as well as helping us operate the farm and do different things on the farm. We also hope to expand as we get more established into an agricultural internship training and hopefully supporting other people in the community with their business, their farming business, their value-added products endeavors through our organization and through our network. So that's what we have going on at the Clara White Mission and White Harvest Farms. I'm happy to answer any questions whenever that comes. But thanks for having me and thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Mallory. Next, we have Jamie Stater from the Sanctuary on 8th.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Stater. I'm the Associate Director at the Sanctuary on 8th Street. And I just want to say thank you to the Junior League and Kimber for organizing this really cool event tonight in this new format that we're all getting used to, well, since March, Zoom. And a little bit about us. We are a local nonprofit. We serve youth in the Springfield neighborhood and surrounding areas. Most of our youth or all of our youth currently are in elementary and middle school. Just a little bit of history. We actually opened in 1992 under a different name, Urban Ministries of Springfield. And in 2001 is when we changed our name to the Sanctuary on 8th Street at the same time that we moved into the historic post office building that we're currently in. So I know many of the Junior League members have been there volunteering and have seen our big purple building really close to Main Street in Springfield. So our mission is to encourage and empower Jacksonville youth and minister to their spiritual, physical, social, and intellectual needs. So how do we do that? Well, we provide a sanctuary, as our name implies, to our elementary and middle school students every day after school and for a 6-week summer camp as well. Historically, we serve around 40 students in the after-school program and 60 to 70 in our summer program. However, I'm sure many of you have experienced this as well. Of course, COVID has made everything different this year. So currently, we only have about 27 students in our after-school program, which makes it easier to social distance. And, you know, of course, there are still plenty of parents out there that aren't comfortable of sending their kids anywhere at the moment. So we're happy to have the 27 that we have right now and able to give them a little more attention and serve them in every way that we can. So we're funded and sustained by grants such as the Kids Hope Alliance, which is a city organization, and the United Way of Northeast Florida. We also have, we're also sustained by donations from individuals, corporations, a lot of our partner churches here locally, and of course by volunteers. So volunteers are a really important part of our programming and what we do. And I know we can't have them back right now on the normal capacity that we do, but we're looking forward to finding new ways to have our volunteers working with our kids. Switching gears a little bit, this can be a tough topic for some of us to digest, but I know it is really critical to and relates to the issue that we're here to talk about of food scarcity and food insecurity. A lot of our students, actually the majority of our students that we serve, are living in generational poverty. So they do face a lot of challenges. Our students are more likely to have experienced one or more forms of trauma in their lifetime, young as they are. They're very likely to experience food insecurity, and they typically have just many more stress factors in their lives than most children who are not living in poverty have. So our work strives to address this in two major ways. And the first way is, of course, by providing a sanctuary, a safe and loving place for these kids to come when they're not in school, and to provide them with opportunities while they're there with us during that time. The second way that we find just as important is in building relationships with our kids and our families. we want to provide them with the lasting support that they need to break the cycle of generational poverty. And this is really important to us. We find this to be one of the most important, if not the most important aspects of our work, building bonds with our kids and giving them a safe place to be. So just a little bit about what a daily experience might be for a kid in our after school program or in the summer camp. We offer pretty similar programming for both. We offer academic programming like one-on-one tutoring. We have some great tutors, homework help, reading with students, educational field trips. But we also offer enrichment activities like yoga through Yoga for Change, which is one of our great local partners here in town, coding class, gardening, kids in the kitchen with our lovely Junior League volunteers, art and drama activities, and honestly, lots of activities just to play games and be kids. You know, free play we find to be really important. So in the summer, we provide, you know, all of this and more field trips, more trips to the pool and all of that. So we're always looking to foster our community partnerships. And so I'm really glad to be able to be here tonight with Mallory and Emily and with the Junior League members and our guests that have joined us tonight to see how we can work together to address some of these issues. And I just really want to say, you know, I know I've already said it, but I feel like I can never stress enough that we really focus on relationships with our kids. And we are a pretty small program. My executive director, Rick Cartledge, and I are the only, am I still here? Kimber, can you hear me?
Yes, Jamie, we can all hear you. Everyone is so excited about what you're telling us.
No, I'm sorry. It just looked like everyone was frozen on the screen. And so
You are fine.
I wasn't sure how my internet was working. Okay.
Representative Jamie is waving his arms around.
All right. Yeah, I think it's just that they're frozen on my end, but if at least you could hear my audio, then that's okay. Anyway, relationship building, and this, we find that being a small organization allows us to really get to know our kids and their families. Rick and I are the only full-time people. We have an awesome part-time staff that works directly with the kids, but because we're such a small organization, we're tight-knit. Rick and I get to be out there with the kids every day, and we get to see their parents at pickup and talk to their families and really get to know them, know what's going on in their lives, kind of know what their needs are. And this really helps us to build those relationships and serve our kids and meet their specific needs, and especially helping them with behavior and social and emotional learning, which is really, really important. So that's just a little bit about the sanctuary, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share information about our organization and just be here tonight with Mallory, Emily, and all of our guests.
Thank you, Jamie. Really appreciated all of that. We enjoy so much our time with the kids there at Sanctuary on 8th. Emily from Sulzbacher.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me today. And I'm going to just talk about Sulzbacher, basically the mission and some of what we do. The minute you pan to me, of course, my cat starts to intervene. So we opened in 1995. Sulzbacher is Northeast Florida's largest provider of services to those experiencing homelessness. And when we opened in 1995, we only served men and we only served dinner, and that has changed drastically in the last 25 years. So we mainly operate out of 3 main campuses right now. It's a downtown campus, which hosts transitional rooms, our community meal service, which is a big part of Sulzbacher's day-to-day. And we serve lunch and dinner to the community. We also have our medical programs at our downtown campus. Now, it's at a men's campus and communities campus, but the medical program is available to any adults, whether they're insured, not insured, underinsured, anything really. And there we have primary care, dental, vision, and behavioral health. It's also the home to our Urban Rest Stop, which is a partnership with the Mental Health Resource Center. So it is essentially a space where anyone who's experiencing street homelessness can go to during the day and shower. It's a safe place to be during the day. And they can also start receiving services like medical care, behavioral health, case management, housing options, things like that. Our other campus is a satellite site at the beaches. It's a medical facility as well. So it's a mirror of what we have downtown, just in a different part of town. And it's got medical, it's got primary, dental, vision, and behavioral health. We also have the Village, which is our newer campus. It's our Women and Families campus. It was really essential that we had a space for women and families. The fastest growing population experiencing homelessness is women with children. And so it was a really big need for our clients. The Village has 120 apartments. Some of those apartments are year-long leases, your standard affordable housing, and the others are transitional. So it's that 30 to 90 day stay. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. There's no recipe really. That's just our kind of standard. And it also has female veterans apartments and female respite apartments, which was really big for us because we've had a veterans department and a respite department for several years. And, you know, the females their needs need to be met like their male counterparts. So those were two big wins for us. And the Village also hosts a early learning center for all of our children, and children who are transitioning into housing away from the Village still have access to it. One of the worst things you can do is take a child from an environment and where they're doing well. And so when a client leaves the Village, their child still can stay at the early learning center. That's a partnership with the Florida Institute of Education. They do a lot of our trauma-informed curriculum. And we also have a children's department there, and then pediatric care, which it's our first time providing pediatric care. It was really important that our children have access to a doctor. A lot of our children, when they get to us, most of their medical care has come from a school nurse. And so it was really important that we provide medical care for our children. We also have 3 other programs I want to just kind of touch on real quick. Our CHOP program, which is our Chronically Homeless Offenders program, which is a partnership with JSO, where we find housing for anyone who's chronically homeless and has frequent misdemeanor offenses, mainly nuisance crimes. And then we also have a HOPE team, which is a mobile team that goes out into tent cities or anywhere in Jacksonville where there's anyone living, you know, in their car or on the street, and they provide essential items like your hygiene kits and stuff like that, but also behavioral health. And they are a medical team that goes out and deals with the very unique needs of those that are living homeless on the streets. We also had just acquired, before the pandemic, a mobile health unit. So if you're in Jacksonville, you've seen the St. Vincent buses. They're those, you know, long buses that have exam rooms, and now we have one too. It's just Sulzbacher's and urban rest stops. And so it's got private exam rooms. And then we had gotten it like 2 or 3 weeks before the pandemic came, and we actually immediately started using it for medical screenings. And then we did use it for several days, about 2 weeks really, every day in a row, basically to do COVID testing. We tested over 600 of our homeless neighbors and did not get any positive results. So we were very happy about that.
Which was great news for all of us. Emily, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about the work of Sulzbacher. There are so many programs that you guys are involved in. It's really just such a great thing for us to be able to be a part of that, just a tiny part that we get to help you with.
Thank you.
So I think we'll go ahead and kind of begin the panel questions in terms of some of the food scarcity issues that we're dealing with. And Mallory, we'll start with you. How does food scarcity affect the health of the neighborhood and population in which White Harvest Farms works?
This is a great question, Kimber. Thank you. So food scarcity, I think, you know, food scarcity affects so we're operating in the Moncrief neighborhood. So we're in what is called historic Moncrief Springs. So at one point, this neighborhood had a freshwater spring that is said to have a buried treasure, the treasure of Moncrief. I don't know if y'all have heard of that, but if you haven't, you should look it up. And there's a lot of poverty there. I think we all probably know that there's poverty in that neighborhood. And but the history, if you look back at the history, this neighborhood was booming. It was like an epicenter for this like spring that people would swim in, and it had healing waters. And there was music and everything was, it's like, there's this really like rosy past. But what we're looking at today, is a neighborhood that doesn't have grocery stores, doesn't have access to healthy food, essentially. So healthy food is more expensive. I'm often looking for lunch because, I work and I need to eat. And, it's really hard for me to find options that I feel, really comfortable eating within that neighborhood. So, I think it looks like just gas stations and dollar stores. All along the neighborhood, there's no grocery stores. There's a Harvey's sort of about 2 miles or 2 or 3 miles from the farm. But yeah, there's just lack of access to grocery stores, which, the farm is in what is called a low income, low access census tract, right? So, the definition of that is just there's, not access to grocery stores or fresh foods. So it just means that there's lack of healthy food, right? There's also lack of transportation to get to a grocery store. So if they're going to a grocery store, they probably have to take the bus, and then they have to lug their groceries on the bus. And so how does it affect the health? So we also know that, our neighborhood, the health is pretty poor. There's a lot of stress, there's poverty, there's higher rates of heart disease and high blood pressure and diabetes. So, I think that lack of access to healthy food, it really just perpetuates poverty. It's a stress. It's on your mental health. If I was eating junk all the time, Doritos, or, if I didn't have access to apples and bananas and things that really, were healthy and good for me, my anxiety would be way worse. My stress would be way worse. So I think it's really this feedback loop that just perpetuates poverty and perpetuates poor mental health, more stress. And it's probably feels like you're climbing a mountain just to make dinner. So I think that's what I have to add. I'm really excited to hear what Jamie and Emily want to add to that.
All right, Jamie?
Hello again. All right. Thank you, Mallory. So I'll probably touch on some of the same, main themes that Mallory touched on, as I'm sure Emily has also experienced a lot of this as well. Affordability of healthier foods is definitely a big issue. Processed foods and fast food are cheap. Like there's no way around that. They're cheap. And if you're trying to fill stomachs, if you're trying to fill yours and your 3 or 4 kids, then getting a $10 sack of burgers and fries is way easier and cheaper than, making a healthy meal with all sorts of nutritional elements for your whole family. Not to mention there's probably 2 McDonald's within a half a mile of you, but not a grocery store nearby at all. So this is definitely, the affordability is definitely a big issue. And I talked about fast food. Convenience stores, they're around. There's one right across the street from the sanctuary, and we have some middle school kids that actually walk to us in a group from Kirby Smith, and we have to, try to tell them like, don't stop at the corner store, because they stop in there and they pick up their Doritos and their sodas and come to us. We actually do not allow them to bring them in to the sanctuary because we offer other healthy snacks, but it's so tempting for them and it's so accessible and so cheap, but it's, as I think we all know, it's not good for you. It's not healthy. Another problem, of course, is transportation. And this is a huge issue and stressor for many of our families. Many either don't have a vehicle, they don't have a reliable vehicle, or they maybe share a vehicle with extended family members. And so, like Mallory was saying, you may have to walk a mile or 2 to a grocery store. In Springfield, we do have the Harvey's downtown, but it is about 1.5 miles from the sanctuary. And like I said, there are convenience stores, but they don't offer a lot of healthy options. So can you imagine taking the bus or walking with your kids with you in the Florida heat, and you're lugging bags of groceries, and it's not an ideal situation, and it's not an easy situation. And so I think that results in a lot of our families turning to these processed foods and fast foods, because it is truly what's accessible, and what's there and what's affordable. So for many of us who have cars, even, if you have, like, I live in Murray Hill, and Publix is not right up the street from me, but there's a Publix in Winn-Dixie that I can drive to in 10 minutes. But if I had to take the bus, it would be a whole different story. And if I had to lug my groceries with me that whole time, that would definitely be a different story. And I'd probably be making a lot fewer trips to the grocery store, and a lot more to the corner store or fast food areas. So time is another issue. Parents working later odd hours, of course. I mean, we can all relate to how easy it is to, I think, come home and you just want to like make a box of Kraft mac and cheese, because that's easy and it's cheap, and we are all pressed for time. But working parents that are maybe working multiple jobs, they're not really most of the time working a 9 to 5. The kids, they have kids that have things where they need to be and stuff, and so they're busy, and the extra, like taking the bus to the grocery store, all of that adds up. And so time is a huge stressor that I think results in a lot of this unhealthy eating, which, like Mallory says, definitely affects the long-term health of the community. There's countless studies about how eating this way can lead to obesity and diabetes and all sorts of physical issues. And also, I think Mallory made a great point about mental health and how it affects, the way you think and feel. I know if I don't have time to eat breakfast in the morning, I guess we would call it hangry is what would happen to me. So it really affects my ability to be productive, my ability to interact with my coworkers in a productive manner, and all of this. So to think that our kids are going through that and their families are going through that, and a lot of times, I made the choice not to eat breakfast because I was rushing out the door. Maybe that wasn't their choice. So it's a huge, all of these issues are intertwined, and it has a huge impact on our kids and our families, and their general health. So looking forward to hearing from Emily next.
All right, hold on. I'm going to interrupt really quick. We have Miss Husband from Feeding Northeast Florida, and she has just a couple minutes, and she wanted to try to join in to answer the question. So I'm going to see if she has time to unmute and speak a little bit about what they have going on in terms of food scarcity. Miss Husband?
Hi, it's actually Dr. Husband, and my background is public health. So the question about hunger and chronic diseases is one that I'm very, very familiar with. And but what I'm seeing right now on the ground, it's really not even a question of what neighborhoods people live in. The issue of hunger in Northeast Florida is so pervasive. I'm seeing people drive up to our food lines who have BMWs, and I know that they are not making their ends meet because they lost jobs, because they are maybe on the verge of losing their housing. Maybe they're on the verge of not being able to make their rent payments because the moratorium will expand. I mean, it has been expanded through December, but there's still consequences that people will have to face of where is that money going to come from if they don't have any jobs. So their, small businesses have been laid aside. But the issue of chronic diseases and hunger, like we think about, it's not so much a hunger of calories, it's a hunger of good food. And in Jacksonville specifically, you have to look at the policies that inform what type of stores we put in poor neighborhoods. And we specifically are very driven by a profit. So all the stores that happen to be in Health Zone 1, which all the major program areas are located in, all their policies are supporting low quality foods. So just because you have a Dollar General doesn't mean a Dollar General cannot carry healthy food. It can, and they do in other parts of the country based on the policies that have been instituted. And then you have to also look at our culture and how our culture drives the choices that we make. And that doesn't just, work with people who are in poverty. That happens with all of us. And then there's education. So education plays a big role into the choices people decide. You know, I know that on days that I'm supposedly fasting or not eating because I want to lower my caloric intake, and I go buy, you know, a Dunkin' Donut, sometimes it can be so tempting, and I have to talk myself through education to say why I am not going to stop at that Dunkin' Donut. But imagine if I didn't have the choice monetarily to make that choice. And that, you know, $4, what is it called? A value meal is my only option because that's the last $4 I have to feed my 4 kids. So there's those kind of choices as well. I would love to talk some more about this, but I have to jump in another call where we're trying to discuss how we're going to deploy the COVID vaccines in the region when they come to town. And food is one of the ways that we're going to use because we have access as Feeding Northeast Florida to food that we can give people. We're going to use food as an incentive for people to come out to be able to be vaccinated when we actually have a viable vaccine in the area. So it's been lovely talking to you guys, and I would love to meet with you at a different time when I have more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Husband. Have a wonderful evening. So Emily, I'm not sure how much you have to add to all that, but Soulswalker and the village and your work, you might have your own take on some of those quite, I guess, some of the questions and the answers. So.
Yeah, so, you know, when I first saw this question, it was, I had to really think about who we serve. And it is very safe to say that a majority of our clients are living with hypertension or diabetes. And that is, you cannot deny that it is due to the fact that there is not access to healthy food. And the generational poverty discussion on, you know, not knowing what kind of food is good for you and what you should be putting in your body is really important. And from my point of view, and you know, Soulsbacher's mission is for individuals to end up being independent and self-sufficient. Independence, we categorize that as stability, financial stability, finding housing, and all that kind of stuff. And that comes usually from a job. But if you are not healthy of mind and body, you do not work well. You're not your best self if you do not feel well. And so food scarcity and how it impacts our clients' health, I think, is what impacts their stability. Because again, if you're not healthy of mind and body, then working is very difficult, and making those tough decisions is tough, and living with, you know, you're already living with toxic stress because you're living in poverty. And so you're not going to be your best self if you're not eating well.
Thank you, Emily. That really was a great way to kind of recap, I think, all the responses we heard. I mean, the importance of food is health, and it's not just physical health, it's mental health. And it impacts everything in our lives. So Mallory, next question. What is your organization doing to address food scarcity? We know you have a farm, but tell us a little bit more about that and what, you know, is available to the residents locally, and maybe how many pounds of produce you can make available to the residents, and if there's a plan to do more.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have the numbers handy with like how many pounds of produce we grew this year. But we are keeping track of that kind of stuff, which is really great. I would say, I mean, upwards of like 5,000 pounds of food. You know, something like somewhere around in like in the thousands, I would say we've grown just since I've been on the team in October. And so the main way that we're addressing food scarcity is by offering a market, a healthy option, a healthy community, really, around growing food, being outdoors, living a healthier lifestyle. And, you know, we really want to make it something that the community is part of and the community supports. So we grow like lots of things that, you know, we know the community asks for. So, you know, we sort of did our crop plan around growing a lot of collard greens that will be ready on Thanksgiving and Christmas, because we know that collard greens, we got asked for mustards, we got asked for turnips. So, we're really excited for the holidays coming up, because that's really a time when everybody sort of comes together and cooks their greens and comes and visits the farm. And yeah, I guess, did I answer the whole question? What else?
Just
Well,
what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, the second thing, sorry, I wanted to touch on was education. So what, Dr. Husband talked about was, people don't know, they don't understand what it feels like to maybe eat healthier. And, I love how she talked about the education that she has in her head about why she should eat better, definitely education around food and nutrition is something that we do all the time on the farm, just because it happens. If somebody comes to volunteer, we talk about food, we talk about our mental health, we talk about our life, we're outside. So I just really believe in general that farming, urban farming, being outside, this whole model that we're, building and generating at White Harvest Farms, it really will help for health overall and improve food access, because we're going to grow food and sell it and keep it in the community as much as we can. So
Thank you, Kimberly. Jamie?
So we approach this in a few ways, addressing food scarcity at the Sanctuary on 8th Street. Of course, our main mission is to provide this safe place for these kids after school and during the summer, but with that comes, a multitude of things that go along with that. So in partnership with the Kids Hope Alliance, which is our biggest grant funder, we provide a daily meal every day to our students. So in the after school program, we tell them it's a snack, but it really is a meal. It has all the components of, like a nutritious meal: protein, grain, fruit, vegetable, dairy. And we provide that for them every day. And we really discourage them eating processed foods while they're with us. They try to sneak it sometimes, but we usually catch them. They're not as sly as they think they are. So that's one way, that's the main way that we do every day to address food scarcity, is physically providing the food for them when they are with us. But there are some other things we do as well. So in March, when the pandemic hit and it started to become real for us here in Florida, we had to close our after school program because we followed what the schools did and just, we're playing it safe. But we were looking for ways to still serve our families. So one thing that we developed is this Friday curbside grocery pickup. So we reached out to, volunteers, donors, churches that we work with, and people really stepped up and helped donate food and money to support this endeavor. And we would make bags of groceries where we'd try to have some staples, as well as always some fresh fruits, because our kids love snacking on fruit, and vegetables and bread and dairy, and made that available, no questions asked, basically, for any of our families to come pick that up once a week. And a lot of them did take us up on that. And like Dr. Husband said, this is everything that we're talking about tonight has been just really made so much worse by the pandemic. So, people that normally would not be considered to be living in poverty are having those issues now. So our kids are definitely still having them. So that's something that we did up until the school started back again, and we brought our kids back on site with COVID precautions in place. But we're actually looking to restart that, revamp it, and make it a little bit different so that it's more like a weekend snack pack. We're planning to send home the kids with fresh fruits and veggies, and maybe a few other little things for their families on Fridays, so that they have that nutrition over the weekend that basically all of our kids do rely on that at school every day. And with us, they get free breakfast at school, they get free or reduced lunch, and then they get their meal with us through the Kids Hope Alliance. So we want to make sure that they have that nutrition over the weekend as well. Oh, another thing that happened during that time was Kimber reached out in the Junior League about how they could help, and they made these really cool microwave meal kits for our kids, and we sent them home, and they had kid-friendly recipes, and little ingredients for them and measuring cups and all sorts of things to help the kids kind of have something to do at home and maybe teach them a little bit about nutrition as well. So those were a huge hit. Another thing we do basically on a daily basis is just try to model healthy behavior. You know, our staff, we all just try to like practice what we preach when we're eating stuff in front of the kids. When they're eating their meals, we talk to them about what's in it, like why do they not like certain things? Why do they like certain things? We challenge them to read the ingredients on the labels of processed food that they have, or even do research into like what is in a McDonald's cheeseburger or fries and that type of thing. And I think that all relates to that education standpoint, which is also incorporated through the Kids in the Kitchen program, which we really truly appreciate. I'm not just saying that because we're on a call for the Junior League now, but they come in with volunteers and they bring ingredients and like a recipe and activity for the kids, and the kids love it so much. And they just talk to them about what's going into this recipe, how to measure stuff. And last year, the kids even tried like a tofu smoothie and they liked it. It was hilarious. But they, you know, that program really exposes them and educates them about healthy eating and gives them the opportunity to try these things, and it makes it fun instead of just like eat your vegetables. So programs like that are really great, and we really appreciate the Junior League bringing that to our kids. Sorry, two more things really quickly. So we have a garden also out in our field, which is in total disrepair right now. But we are looking forward to getting it revamped and organized and cleaned up for the kids, and that we have awesome volunteers that have helped us keep that in good shape. And they come out when the kids are there and talk to them about what they're doing and what they're planning, and the kids help, and it's hands-on and it's informal. It's not like a major structured classroom or anything like that. It's just like, hey, like we're in the garden. This is what we're doing. These are carrots. We need to water them. You know, just things like that. And that's really great. I'm looking forward to having the garden back this fall. Said two more things, but it was really just one more thing. So
Jamie, thank you.
Let's go on a little bit.
That's all right. Thank you. And the Junior League loves doing Kids in the Kitchen with you. And I know everyone there was shocked that we got those kids to eat tofu, but they loved it. They've also learned, you know, they learned how to measure food and what portion control was, how much protein they needed, things like that. It was really great. And we have Chad with us. Chad, you wanted to join in?
Hey, thank you for inviting Senator Bean and all of us. I just had a quick question for Jamie. You mentioned you had Friday curbside pickup. Did that increase volume as far as people wanting to come by, or since it was one of the probably few easy, safe ways for them to get food? If you could just kind of talk about that, I'd be interested. Thank you.
Sure, Chad. So I'm sorry if I misspoke. We actually did do it just for our families. So it was for you know, our current and former families that we'd worked with at the sanctuary in our after school and summer programs. And it really did, you know, like what would happen was every week I would reach out via text or a phone call to basically all of our parents and just remind them that we were doing it, because I didn't want to assume that anybody needed it, but I didn't want to assume that anybody didn't need it. So I just kind of tried to be fair and reach out to everybody. And I know we had a couple parents that were, you know, they would say like, oh, we're great, like we're fine, don't worry about us, but thanks for checking in. And that also just helped us to keep that line of communication open during a time when we could not have our kids on site and when we could not interact with parents every day when at pickup when they're picking up their kids. So we did have a lot of families come to do that. And honestly, I know they did need the food, because some of them told us that, you know, stories about having to take in family members because of the pandemic. I know one mom had, she took her dad, her elderly father, out of a nursing home because she was worried about COVID. And then she had her two young daughters, and she also had her older son and his girlfriend and their baby all living together because of the situation of this pandemic. And so even though she has a stable job, she needed that little bit of extra help. So we did pretty much, I would say 20 to 30 families would come every week. And like I said, it was just really great for communication too, and being able to figure out what was going on in the lives of our kids when we weren't able to see them every day.
Thank you, Jamie. Emily from Sulzbacher.
So at Sulzbacher, we have 2 industrial kitchens, and we serve up to 1,500 meals a day from our kitchens. Most of those meals are cooked and served by volunteers. And, you know, kind of to bounce back to the importance of health, a few years ago, you know, we have medical on campus. We can't preach be healthy if we're not serving healthy food. And so we transitioned our menu to being mainly lean meats and vegetables. We do, you know, your standard Thanksgiving meals, and we get a little fancy with it sometimes, but we do focus on those healthier meals. The Village, the Women and Families campus, also just opened a few months ago, kind of had a soft opening for a food pantry on campus. And Feeding Northeast Florida also has been bringing their mobile food pantry to the Village, but it's not just for Village residents, which I think is awesome. So it's basically anyone in the whole Brentwood neighborhood can come to the Village and go to the Feeding Northeast Florida mobile food pantry, which, you know, because of COVID, I do want to bring up that or just kind of restate it again, that food banks and food pantries are seeing longer lines than ever. The demand has gone up drastically. And so that's true in our kitchen. You know, usually it costs Sulzbacher about $2 to cook a meal. It's costing closer to $3. And so demand is definitely high right now. At the Village, we also have in our early learning center a garden, which the Junior League volunteers in and has funded. And we have hydroponics and beds as well. And so we've been able to make salads for our kids. And so they've all been able to eat salads throughout the year. Everything has been really loved as far as salads. Kids are so moldable because, you know, really when we changed the menu, the children weren't complaining. And so they were really excited to try new things. Everything was very much loved except for arugula. We won't be having them eat that again. They did not like it. And just to bounce back again, I'm a little back and forth, but for COVID, I just want to bring up that it has really impacted our kitchen because, like I said, 1,500 meals a day, mostly cooked by volunteers, is really tough when you can't have volunteers. And so it's been about 3 staff members, a handful of staff members that are kitchen staff, depending on assistance from other staff departments and clients as well. You know, in the early stage of the pandemic, our dental closed. And so our dental was cooking and serving with our kitchen staff for several weeks. And so we're anxious to be able to have volunteers back. It's a lot to carry for our kitchen staff to keep cooking and serving those meals because we are still cooking them. And so the pandemic has made a lot of things more difficult.
Thank you, Emily. We cannot wait to get back in the kitchen and serve breakfast again. Our members absolutely love that 5:30 in the morning shift. And no, I am not joking. It is one of the most anticipated shifts. There's always a wait list. People really enjoy that. And we miss being with you. We miss working in the hydroponic towers and the garden and with the kiddos at Sanctuary. It's been really tough. Mallory, I want to go ahead and move to some questions, general questions about food policy. You know, are there any policy changes that you believe would help our neighbors who live in food deserts? And if you don't know of any, it's okay.
You know, I thought of a few things. I wanted to point out one thing that I think is working really well, which is, well, at least in terms of the farm, and the farm being this urban farm that's not necessarily zoned for agriculture. So I started to think about zoning, community gardens, green space. And so there's something called a greenway, which is sort of like a land use designation. And that's something that's really helpful for organizations like mine or community gardens. So I'd like to see more community gardens in food desert communities. And so the Greenway is a really great policy that basically allows you to do, it's just more flexible basically of what you can do on your land. So I just wanted to point that out because I think it's really cool that you can get a land use designation for a greenway. And so we're doing that for the farm is why it's on my radar. You know, I think that Ms. Husband brought something up that was really cool was why in these, you know, in these Dollar Generals or these Family Dollar stores, why can't they have healthier options? So somehow influencing what goes into these stores because they're already here and they could provide much healthier options. I also thought about something that I want to see is like, and something that we're not able to do at the farm currently is like an EBT subscription box. So something that there's an opportunity for individuals to use their EBT money, but through an online e-commerce website, because you can't currently do that. You'd have to, you can only do EBT transactions in person. So if we could make EBT, you know, something that you could do in advance for somebody to reserve a monthly vegetable subscription box, that's something that would be really cool.
Those are great ideas, Mallory. Jamie?
So, you know, Jacksonville's a huge city, as we all know, land-wise, and we basically have a lot of small communities within our larger city. You know, that's how I feel working in the Springfield neighborhood and living in Murray Hill. And, you know, it's just all these different neighborhoods. And it would be great if every one of those communities could be, in a sense, like a little bit self-sustaining, you know, like have either, of course, it'd be great if they all had a grocery store at the heart of the community, a Winn-Dixie, a Publix, a Walmart, whatever it is, with fresh, affordable food within close proximity to, you know, that heart of that community. You know, I don't think that's going to happen overnight. There already are, I believe, policy incentives to try to get grocery stores to move to areas that are designated as food deserts. And it's hard to get them to move there because they have to think from a business perspective, and from their bottom line, it doesn't work for them sometimes, even with those incentives. So I don't know what the answer is to that. I would love to have the answer to that, but ways to make those incentives more effective, or some other way to get those grocery stores to want to move into these underserved communities and communities that don't have that easy access to food. A couple other things, like Dr. Husband said, and like Mallory said, there are convenience stores close by to in all communities, right? Most people have a corner store around the street, and some of them do carry fresh fruits and vegetables, but even then it tends to be more expensive. You know, like a banana is like $2 instead of 50 cents, like or not even when you go to the grocery store. So, you know, it might not like occur to you when you're just buying one banana, but that would add up if you're trying to get all your produce from that store. So some sort of policies or incentives that, you know, not only are the Dollar Generals and the corner stores going to carry these fresh options, but they're not going to overcharge for them and charge some ridiculous price that most of us would, I'm sure, you know, balk at if we encountered it. So that's one thing. And then, like Mallory was saying too, the SNAP and EBT, what's the name of the program? Florida Fresh Access Program sounds like a great program, but it's not, as far as I know, for the most part, accessible online. I don't know about you guys, but I've been using Instacart a lot more since the pandemic started, and I never really liked grocery shopping in the first place. I'm very privileged to be able to do that, but you can't do that with SNAP EBT if you wanted to. So I do believe that there is some movement to change that. So I really love that subscription box idea, the produce box, because that's become a new big thing too, is the produce box, but being able to use SNAP and EBT towards that would be great. I'm pretty sure Amazon and Walmart have started a movement in almost all the states to accept SNAP and EBT online. I don't know how that works in terms of with delivery charges and things like that. I'm not sure, but to expand that to, you know, all sorts of local grocery stores, whether it's a chain like Publix and Winn-Dixie, or a more, you know, like a very local store that's not a chain, I think that would have potential to solve or at least alleviate the transportation and access issue in those food deserts. And then of course the urban farms, the community gardens are lovely ideas and really awesome. Like, it's really cool that White Harvest Farms is there. And I just visited, I don't know if you guys know Nathan Ballantyne, who goes by the Man in Overalls.
Yes.
He lives in Springfield. Yeah. And I visited his urban farm for the first time the other day. Like, you would never know it was there. It's behind all these houses in the heart of Springfield. It's really cool. But he was talking to me just about how it's not only good because of the food and the fresh food coming from the ground. It's good because of the community and the education aspect of it, because you're just, you know, Emily and I were both meeting at the farm just by happenstance and like harvesting something. We're also talking about how we're going to use that item, like how we're going to use that in a recipe. Maybe it's something that I'm familiar with and she's not, or vice versa. And so I think it has a big educational component and community component that is really important. So all about community farms or community gardens and urban farms too.
We are all about community farms and urban gardens too, Jamie. Thank you. Emily, anything in terms of food policy or changes to food policies?
So, you know, it's a census year, and that determines billions of dollars to meet, you know, federal food programs, SNAP and WIC and stuff. And I also want to mention pandemic EBT. That will be ending September 30th. And the pandemic EBT was basically to ensure that children who depended on school meals still got meals when school was out and during the summer. And with schools being back open, you know, Duval County Public Schools is still providing meals, even to students that are going to school virtually. So, but the state of Florida is going to end that program on September 30th. And I know that there is I think for Feeding Northeast Florida, there is some federal advocacy to extend the program to the end of 2020-2021 school year.
Good to know, Emily. Thank you. So we have Courtney Wesley with us from Representative Al Lawson's office, and she's going to give us a little bit of a briefing about what they have been looking at.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. We're so happy to have you with us.
Oh, thank you for the invite. Really appreciate it. And the Congressman sends his apologies he couldn't be with us this evening. I'd first like to give you a quick overview of what the newly drawn district, 5th Congressional District is. We stretch 8 counties, starting in Gadsden County to the west. That's right outside Tallahassee, Florida. We cover Leon, Jefferson, Madison, Baker, Columbia, and Hamilton, and of course, a large part of Duval. So if you are familiar with the I-10 corridor, you get a feel that this district is a lot rural, and we do have a lot of farmers within the district. The population base is in Jacksonville, and the 5th Congressional District covers the urban core, as well as, if you can follow in your mind, think to Regency, to Phillips Highway, mostly all of the west side. The little cutoff line is the base, NAS Jax. And then you come back to the urban core, Springfield, the east side, the north side, and then kind of cut it off right before you get to the airport. Depends on what side of the street that you live on. Then you're in the 5th Congressional District. We do have a little bit of a SWAT of San Marco and Riverside. So the congressman served as a state legislator for 28 years. He is actually from Gadsden County, so he's from the district. I am from Duval County, and from this end of the district. In my office that is located in City Hall, I have with me former State Senator Tony Hill. I also have with me a Navy veteran, Sherry Barfield, where she serves as my case worker and works with a lot of your organizations. And I also have with me Sierra Smith, who comes from the nonprofit sector. While we have been busy doing as much good as we can with in these conditions with coronavirus, the congressman still serves on two committees, one financial services and the other being the agriculture committee, where he proudly serves. During this coronavirus time, we've looked at the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, and that was actually the second stimulus package. The Coronavirus SNAP Act, as you just heard, was able to provide bills and grants to states to increase household SNAP benefits. The benefits were maximized to each household, and that took place about the end of March. While the state of Florida did receive this fund, I can't really go into the details because each household is it's based on household specs and population area. We also have the increased funding for local food banks through the Emergency Food Assistance Program, or TFAP. And that's between the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, or the second stimulus, and the CARES Act, which is actually the third stimulus package, which is $850 million additional dollars allocated to TFAP during this coronavirus time. So that's good news for those families. We also have $600 million for food assistance and buying for food banks to increase their buying power. Also, Florida's 5th Congressional District split their TFAP dollars between two regions. The Greater Tallahassee region, which is Region 2, it's serviced by American Second Harvest and the Big Bend Inc. And then there's the Greater Jacksonville area, Region 3, which is serviced by Farm Share Inc. And households seeking to join TFAP food banks still need to contact and go through the whole application process, as you know. The box program, which is a wonderful program that I believe, was it Emily spoke about just a moment ago? Hope I'm not getting your name incorrectly. The Coronavirus Assistance Food Program for farmers to families, or the food box program as we call it. That has also just been qualified for additional $3 billion for dairies, meats, all provided by the USDA. This is going to be an increase for over 10 months of the program, and food pantries are bidding right now for those dollars. So as you see, there's a lot going on. So glad that the congressman is on this committee because so many in our district rely on those programs, and happy to answer any questions, or if I can't answer them, I will take them back and provide answers for you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that update. So much happening to try to assist, and it, in some ways, it's so much, and it can feel like still not enough when we interact with these individual families, and some of whom, because of COVID, are so new they don't understand how to access the things that are so wonderful. And I know in my role in my professional job have run into that as well, which is it's really sad because we want to get people what they need, and healthy fresh food is something we need.
We need, absolutely. This Speaker Pelosi is trying to push through a revised stimulus package. She's going to announce it, I believe, this weekend, Saturday. So we'll, with that, also increase dollars for SNAP benefits. So we'll see what happens. Great.
Thank you. So I guess if anyone has questions, now's a great time for questions. If you want to use the Zoom reaction button at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand, or raise or lower your hand using your, at the top of your little profile where it has your name and the 3 dots, you can also raise your hand and ask questions, and I'll call on you. Don't see any just yet, so I guess I'll start with Emily here, just real quick. What can the Junior League do to help you, Emily, with Sulzbacher? We're not allowed to come volunteer right now. Is there anything else we can do to help you?
So, when we're able to have volunteers back on campus, I know you and I have talked about the educational piece. I know you've done the cooking classes, and that is something I really want to do. We have an industrial kitchen at the village. We need to use it. And I love the idea of bringing in an education element, because like was said earlier, if in generational poverty, if you've never really cooked healthy meals and healthy food, you don't just wake up one day knowing how to cook. And so I think it would be really important to teach adults and children how to prepare healthy meals quickly. I don't want to get too lofty in my my meal plans, but they need to be able to cook a healthy meal even while working full time and dealing with the stressors that come with everyday life and life in poverty. So I would love to bring that into Sulzbacher whenever we're able to open back up, for sure.
Thank you, Emily. We have been, we know that educational piece from Kids in the Kitchen programming, Fresh Minds, is really a need. And we have been discussing, how can we make that virtual in a way that works, that's safe, in a kitchen where we can't be around the children. But we're working on it. Jamie, anything that the Junior League can do to help you?
You all have been great with the Kids in the Kitchen program and those microwave meal kits, and I'm looking forward to our experiment with our virtual Kids in the Kitchen coming up next month. I think we can make it work, so we might have to tweak some things, but we'll figure it out. And I think that just trying to, like this event tonight, talking to your members, and just like all of us, and I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of us might be middle class people, and we're not experiencing the kind of things that are the clients at the sanctuary and Sulzbacher are experiencing every day. And sometimes just hearing those stories of like what other people do experience on a daily basis, people that are living in poverty, can really just bring those issues to light and help all of our elected officials and the representatives that are on the call now, just to hear those firsthand experiences and brainstorm ways to help address these issues. So I appreciate the Junior League and that aspect too, helping just shine a spotlight on these issues and get the word out. And also in connecting organizations, like I got to meet Emily and Mallory, only virtually, unfortunately, so far, but they're awesome and their organizations do great work and they do really great work. So just thank you both for the work that you do, and thank you Junior League for having us.
You're very welcome, Jamie. It is our pleasure to connect you and to connect our neighbors with each other. That's something that I think we really appreciate so much, that people respond when they're invited, and that you all are so willing to share with your stories and the stories of your families with all of us. Mallory, for you, anything that we can do to help you with the farm or the Clear White mission?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie, so much. You are also really awesome. It's great to be on this call with all of you. I was thinking about this. Well, I mean, y'all are helping us a lot already. So, our COVID policy, since we're outdoors, we've still been accepting volunteers. I think it's good for people to get outside and have some soil under their nails for their immune systems and be in the fresh air. So, we're still operating and accepting volunteers. So y'all can please come keep helping us weed, keep helping us make compost, harvest. It's interesting with, farming and gardening. It's a constant cultivation. We're constantly cultivating. And this takes time, especially with organic agriculture, because we're not spraying things to kill the weeds. So we have to weed them. And it's like, it's this karmic weed seed bank in the soil where all of these weed seeds are just in the soil germinating, and you just have to keep weeding them until you get on top of the problem. So we really appreciate your help to weed. I was thinking that it would be really nice to have some assistance to create more video curriculum around farming and gardening that we can share with schools, community organizations. So Junior League support in something like that would be really awesome, and we really would love to share, you know, what we're doing with more people. So.
Okay, Mallory. Well, thank you. I hope we'll start some discussions, and hopefully we can help with that. Our ladies are definitely well connected, so maybe we have some ways that we can assist you. Any other possible questions? If not, our president did turn her camera on, so if you want to address our panelists, to our president, Megan Del Piso.
I got little kiddos, so I'm going to head outside so you don't hear any kid noises. But I thank you, Kimber, for putting together such a awesome event. I just think collaborating different nonprofits all doing great things is really the way to make the biggest impact in our community. And I want to thank all of our nonprofit partners for all the things you guys are. It's we love supporting what you guys are doing, and thank you guys. And then thanks to all the legislators and their staff that are on this call. I really appreciate you guys being here, and I know you guys have really super busy schedules, and we just appreciate your support as well. So I think this was great. Thanks so much, Kimber.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan. All right. Well, then that concludes our panel for this evening. I really thank you so much, every one of you, for the time you've taken to learn a little bit more about this issue and to be with us tonight. I know there are probably many other things you could have been doing, but you chose to do this, and that means so much to us and really to our community. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.